We proudly present to you the Video Store Guys!
Welcome. Once again, it is us, the Video Store Guys. Myself, Tyler Randall, and as always, your illustrious host, Michael Turpin. How you doing, Mike?
That's right. Getting ready for Christmas, man. Getting ready for
Christmas. Cannot wait for Christmas, man. I am pumped.
With that, there's only one set of movies that we can do, and it's The Home Alone.
Obviously.
We got everyone loves The Home Alone. It has not been a absolute thriller and box office smash for any reason. But the synopsis of Home Alone: an 8-year-old troublemaker must protect his house from a pair of burglars when he is accidentally left home alone by his family during a Christmas vacation. It's got a Mr. Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, a very, very fine Catherine O'Hara. She's done many, gems in her time. John Hurd, John Candy, a very, very wonderful man. I really wish that he was taken from us too soon.
I think so as well.
And it was made and released in 1990. So
yeah, production started in February. They ended in May. This is amazing to have this many, this large of a cast in a 90-day shoot. It is insane.
We got Home Alone 1 and we got Home Alone 2. So make sure that you tune in for this one. Make sure you tune in for the next one. The next one will just be just as entertaining. So
all right, are you ready for the
time? Tyler, I'm gonna walk up to the store. I'm gonna ask him basically, why should I rent this? And I'm gonna tell him if he did a good enough job or not. So
yes,
I'm walking up. Tell me and sell me on Home Alone.
Hey Mike, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Hit me.
You looking to watch a movie with your kids this Christmas time?
I think so. They're really getting tired of the Santa Claus and Frozen. So I'm going to move on to something else.
I bet. I'm going to pitch you this classic right now, okay? Before cell phones, before the internet, before, where things like this could happen, hijinks. You have a kid who's supposed to go on vacation with his entire family. They get miscounted at the airport. They're going to Paris, France. Their transatlantic flight. He wakes up. He's home alone. He thinks that his Christmas wish of being without his family has come true. Little does he know that maybe he misses them a little bit more than maybe he originally thought. But before his parents can come home and get him because it's the holidays and all the flights are jammed and canceled and snowed in, his mother is going to find a way to get back, but he's got 2 criminals who are casing the joint, trying to rob his house, and he's trying to fool them into thinking his entire family is home, which really just leads up to him having to defend his house using a bunch of booby traps with stuff he found in the basement. What does that sound like to you?
It sounds like a good flick for me and my children.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yes.
I'm
so
sold.
How about you give me your give me your overall score and why, and then I'll go over my overall score and why.
All right. So me, if you do not have a movie set in New York and LA, you're basically you have it all set for me.
Chicago, right? Baby.
What I'm gonna talk about the downs before I start talking about the ups.
That's
what
fair.
I didn't like was I didn't like how they're always setting the scene that the whole entire family is always piling on the little kid, right? They just played it out too much. They made it that they played the family hates the little kid so much, and they didn't really have a good reason for everyone to hate the little kid. The big brother, Buzz, he just hates his little brother. He's just this dweeb that that nobody ever pays attention to, and that's really not what it's about, especially at Christmas time. So I think they put a little bit too much effort into I hate my little brother. He's a leech. He's this and that. I think they put too much emphasis into that. With that removed, and I'm talking about the chemistry ultimately. I think it was just they put too much emphasis into hating Kevin and making his life a living dirtball. I'm giving it a 9 of 10 because it is an absolute gem of a movie. If it didn't have all the I hate Kevin stuff, I would give it 10 of 10.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. And whenever you give yours, I'll throw out Metascore and Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. So I think I do agree with your assessment of the dogpiling. Really, I think that is so that for the children audience that don't understand what it's like to have 30 people in your house, that they can actually, because they're not going to sympathize with the having your aunts, uncles, cousins, nephews, kids having to pull the hide a bit out, having to wash all the dishes, and they're about to get on a transatlantic flight. But you need the kid to feel like, oh my god, I'm just from his perspective. Oh, I gotta sleep with Fuller. If he drinks another Pepsi, he's gonna piss the bed. Like that. That from a kid's perspective is like it's all he cares about. And he's just like, man, I just want to get away from these people, which I get. But I think that this is an unintentional classic. So when they pitched it, when John Hughes was pitching this movie originally, it was going to go to Warner Brothers, but then they didn't want to spend the money on it. Which, by the way, they only spent $18 million making this movie. Like I said, I was wrong. It wasn't 90 days. It was 86 days or 83 days, excuse me, that they spent film, which is a grueling pace. And especially with child actors, Macaulay Culkin is, as always, at the top of his game as a child actor. I mean, I don't regret him not moving into adulthood with his projects, because I think that's his time to shine. Obviously, he was in another John Candy movie with Uncle Buck, and that's where he was brought up to John Hughes, basically saying, "Look at this kid. This guy's like a genius. He's like an adult in a child's body." I think also I forgot that John Williams composes the score to this, which is why that theme, it's like classic. It's in your brain. It gets stuck. You think of that song during Christmas. Even though the bell, what's the name? It's Save the Bells, is the Christmas carols featured pretty heavily as well, with the choir at the end. But I think that makes this movie work the best is not Macaulay himself being just such a great actor. It's also the supporting cast. Joe Pesci, that big surprise from Joe Pesci. Okay. Coming out of Casino and Goodfellas and Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag, and like all these other, like he always plays the Italian gangster, just a crude, to like brain that in, being able to show even kind of a softer side in some of the interchanges he has with like Marv, where he's like his brother, his big dumb brother. This is this kind of Abbott and Costello, relationship that they have. They got the smart little one and the big dumb one. Daniel Stern is always good for a laugh and plays the dumb guy really well. I think he should have been now. I'm not sure if he was, but he should have been nominated for an Oscar for this, because he just plays a relatable human villain, just not over the top. He's not evil, just a regular guy who just happens to be a thief.
Yep.
That's what makes all the traps and stuff work, is those guys are selling it. They're frustrated, they're upset, they're like, there's no way this should work. But like the paint cans and the spider and all that stuff, I can't believe it works. But they sell it. It's like wrestling. You have to put the other guy over.
Speaking of, I'm going to add to that. Mr. Joe Pesci did all his own stunts in this movie. So, and a lot of people don't know that, he hurt himself on the flamethrower in coming in the back door. He hurt himself on that stunt.
Going down the stairs?
All I know, he did his own stunts in the movie. And it's one of the first times he's ever done it, and one of the only times he's ever done it. But he did all his own stunts in Home Alone.
Yeah, jumping off the stairs into the snow. I bet.
I don't know how many times I've watched it. Every time they slip on the ice, I laugh a little bit. Just it does. I don't know how many times I watch it. It's still funny.
So Daniel Stern did not do the stairs, the back door, the basement stairs. There was a stuntman who did it, and doing this when he was doing the from the waist up with the crowbar and the crowbar falling. They said that was completely not meant to happen. It was totally left in, and he made the noise after it fell. He goes, like so many magical things that I can only imagine are happening filming wise. While super heavy stunts, I can't believe, and to me, I don't think a lot of this was probably done in second unit at the same time. So, because Marv and Harry are almost not in the movie unless they're in the house or you're stealing something. So a lot of that might have been filmed second unit. And a lot of the Macaulay stuff is being filmed by John himself. Going grocery shopping and in the bathroom, putting on aftershave and stuff like that. I have to say, man, I really want to give this. I think I'm gonna go on a ledge because, and what pushes it over for me is it's the mother doing everything she can, getting help from John Candy and the Kenosha Kickers, giving them a van ride, and just you don't realize what you got until it's gone. It's very, very Christmassy, very It's a Wonderful Life. And I think I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 as well. The music, it just classic.
Perfect. Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's funny because anytime you read about critics online that talk about it, they say it's not Christmas until Home Alone is on TV, and it's true.
Of course.
We in my household, we start playing it probably a week before Thanksgiving. That's whenever it starts coming out for us. And that's when I know that, yep, I'm going to start out to shop for gifts and wrap and all that stuff. So it's that's how it works. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 6.6. Metascore was 6.3 of 10, and IMDb was 7.7 of 10. So
that's all modern. That's got to be. I mean, obviously, this movie came out in 1990. These blue-haired cat mom, kid having people are review bombing it because there probably wasn't enough representation in it. Hey, that's one of your categories. There's no woke nonsense.
We are doing this because we are bringing the normal working person. We're bringing true criticism to good and bad movies. Lightyear.
So Kevin is mischievous. Like, he is doing stuff that he shouldn't do, like every kid does when no one's watching. Absolutely. And the fact that he's showing, and if anything, you could sit down with this and watch your kids and not be scared that they're going to try all this stuff, because one, they're going to realize, oh, okay, it's a movie, but two, he gets his comeuppance. He realizes that wishing his family away wasn't the right thing to do. He realizes that, I can do whatever I want. And he sees the consequences of that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he does the sled down the stairs and he gets hurt. He's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that again.
That was so funny. One of my favorite part is when they're testing out the dog door in the back. And they kick it, nothing's coming through, and stick their head through, and he pokes his head through. Yeah, there it is.
Hello.
Makes me laugh.
Gets a BB right to the face. And Daniel Stern's scream is, you can hear it. You can hear that Harry scream, like it's Harry, right?
Yep, Harry.
Oh, and a lot of people, and by the way, there's this year, as a matter of fact, so many people were like,
Marv.
You're right. Sorry, it's Marv. That Marv scream. There's so many people are like, I forgot, or I didn't realize that Joe Pesci was the cop in the very beginning, which sets up the whole. It ties it together. That's such a great part of foreshadowing, because if you wanted to criticize it and be like, oh well, where did these crooks come from? It's like, no, they dressed up as cops and went and cased the joint. They knocked on doors, asked about where they were going to be for Christmas. Are you going to be gone? Okay, don't worry. We're going to be here to patrol the neighborhood. That's such a genius way, set up and payoff. It's another thing movies don't do nowadays. They set things up and they don't pay them off. They don't finish the arc. There's no growth for characters. Like, all these things that are cornerstones of storytelling, movies don't do anymore. And that's why it seems like we're the first few movies we started with have all in the 90s. And this was like a golden era. It seems like movies have a revolution, and then they have another 10 years where movies suck. And then there's a 10 years where there's a revolution, and then there's another 10 years. We're right now in like a 10 years that sucks.
Yeah. Oh, we are. We are.
We all just need a little bit of Home Alone in our Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
People with no clothes. Yuck.
That was one of the producer's sons with a wig on, by the way. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh, she was a hog.
You just can't make it up.
They can't. One of the best. One of the absolute best. And getting into Mike Turpin philosophy, I'm I'm at the point where I'm getting in the process of, telling my kids, about Santa Claus and this and that. And it encompasses everything great about the Christmas spirit and family and being together and love and everything at Christmas really encompasses, and that's the best. That's really what you want to watch at the Christmas time. So
That's what John Hughes is good at too. If you watch some of his other movies, he keeps everything grounded in reality. There are wacky and zany things in there, but he kind of just holds the leash tight enough to where he can pull it back. Like when you talk about Santa Claus and the Christmas spirit, when Kevin goes to talk to the Santa, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like he puts his beard back up. He goes, "I know you're not the real Santa. I know you just work for him." And then the Santa's like, "Oh yeah, that's it." So it doesn't exclude the possibility that Santa's real, but it also is kind of like playing off. It's a good joke for every for the adults. He's like, "Hey, here, don't spoil your supper." He gives him 4 Tic Tacs. It's really hilarious. Just the little things like that.
goes up to the high school girl closing the place down, like, "Hey, where's the big guy at? Oh yeah, he's over there by his whatever you want to call that car." And he's like,
and he's getting a parking ticket. Get a parking ticket for Santa Claus. Right on Christmas Eve. Great. Right. Because that's such a real thing that an adult, like as a kid,
Totally.
I watched all these movies as kids and then continued to watch them into adulthood. And then some movies change. For me, some movies change over time as an adult, watching them and going, "Oh wow, this is bad." Like for instance, I know it's the kind of Christmas time, like Dead Poet Society. Watching it as a young kid, going, "Oh wow, this is so profound." This professor came in and really taught. And then as an adult, watching it and going, "Oh wow, Robin Williams is the bad guy in this movie."
Mm-hmm.
And he sets into motion all of the things that are bad in this movie for these kids. He's basically the woke culture creeping into the established institution and creating a new liturgy and discounting tradition. I'm sorry. This is where we're comparing wokeness to not wokeness. Dead Poet Society injecting wokeness, and as an adult you see it. Home Alone stands the test of time because it doesn't have that current year sensibility, modern audiences, The Message, all these things that we come to hate. And John Hughes didn't play around like that. That's why his movies last forever.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Do you know how much money this movie made?
Do you have
I have it on a budget of $18 million. Okay. They made $474 million.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous. And that's not including home video, dude. Like it probably made way more on the backside market.
It's I still would love to see a Macaulay Culkin royalty check. He's still just from that movie just raking it in.
He's probably still getting like 10 grand a year from it.
Oh
like because that the way royalties work, they diminish by a percentage every time they come. Now, he did say in an interview one time on a late night show that his profession has allowed him to be a gentleman of leisure in his adulthood, which leads you to believe it's like, dude, you don't get to call yourself a gentleman of leisure at 38. If you're not bloated.
Oh,
you're not absolutely just loaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but he's had his problems, as a lot of child actors do. And his cousin, what's his cousin's name? The one that played Fuller, the other Culkin, who is a better actor as an adult, I think. I think he was kind of just shoved into this movie because he was related to him. But he always plays like the funny
Kieran Culkin.
Kieran, yeah.
Kieran Culkin.
He was in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Like he plays like the snipey, best friend.
Uh-huh.
Catherine O'Hara, always the TV mom.
Yeah.
All the way from I love the stark contrast between her character here and their character in Schitt's Creek, which is just a maniacal materialist. I just can't get over it. She plays everything so down the middle, you can't beat it. And of course, John Candy, that story in the back of the van about leaving the kid in the mortuary. By the way, all ad lib. They just let John Candy was working overnight to do that scene. Everybody was on overtime, and he just kept telling story after story, and they were like, "Dude, that's the one. You got to leave that in the movie."
Yeah. And it's perfect. It's completely John Candy. It's that whole, from the second she meets him at the airport to the second he drops her off at the house. Every scene is John Candy-esque. You know, you gotta love it.
You know, when he did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there's actually, they released, so what Hughes would do is everything is on, with John Hughes, everything's on the page. Okay. He's like, do everything the way he's very much like, kind of like Kevin Smith or some of these other auteurs. He's like, no, do it like it's on the page, because I wrote it like that. Then if you want to do one or two or three where you push it out a little bit, he would record those on VHS tapes and give them to for their, their sizzle reel. So just recently it has been uncovered. I follow a guy called Hats Off Entertainment. He last year posited that there's an unknown cut of this movie that probably has, because he's got one of the original scripts and it's got a bunch of extra dialogue that was cut. And then these videos that were resurfaced and Warner Brothers gave permission to show shows how much longer some of these airplane scenes are, which kind of makes Steve Martin more justified that he like goes off on him right away. But really, what was cut out of that movie wasn't unjustified, but it just goes to show how absolutely beautiful John Candy was as a performer, that he would sit there and just talk and talk and talk without interaction. He's just like eating his stupid meal. He's like, these and that, and just Steve Martin sitting there like, God, I hate this so much.
And then before Christmas is up, we have to do some Steve Martin.
Oh yeah,
I love
definitely.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Guy.
So overall, I mean, both of us are split with the evil critics who have criminally scored this way too low. I think that maybe there's just some deference and distance. It's not on TV. Isn't what TV used to be. It's not playing all the time. Even the Christmas Story 24-hour thing, that's kind of going by the wayside because everybody uses streaming. Like I mentioned before, this movie is pre-internet, pre-cell phones. Well, pre-cell phones as we know them, because this movie would have been over in 10 minutes if he had just called his mom. She's like, I'm at the airport. She said, fine, I'll stay behind. Nothing happens, right? But no, it's just the uncanny sequence of events where that little kid who was going through the luggage got counted at the van at the airport because he was wearing the same hat as Kevin. But, also police officers not really doing their jobs correctly. It's just a little bit of too many dumb people, which we can all understand. But
the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, not the Planes, Trains, the what's it called? The movie Gangsters for Filthy Souls.
Angel, the
Angels for Filthy Souls. So he's dubbing that when everyone's trying to break into his house, when the pizza man's delivering, and he leaves a 12-cent tip.
He's keep the change, you filthy animal. Too bad AC ain't in charge no more.
Oh man, yeah, that. And it's a perfect segue for the next episode because he uses it in the next episode and gets one of my favorite two actors in Hollywood, Mr. Tim Curry and Mr. Rob Schneider.
Oh, yes.
In the second one. Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right. That is absolutely right.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in once again. We're having such a blast doing this for you guys. And we hope that you share it with somebody else. Mike, take it away.
Absolutely. Make sure you're subscribing, hitting the bell, commenting, throw your comments out there, and then keep it coming. We're doing.
We will
good.
Answer you.
And absolutely, absolutely, we will, and we'll make everything right. So, thanks again for liking, subscribing, getting involved, and being part of the thing that we have going. I don't know what you want to call it just yet, but we have it, and we have it going. Once again, subscribe, and we want to hear from you.
Go watch Home Alone.
We proudly